Start of the year about everything he was expecting from Bielsa, and certainly on the pitch they've got lots of good things. They're top of the table, they're coming back to the Premier League. Dan, Leeds back in the Premier League, and of course Spygate has erupted.
Spygate, yeah. There's a lot of Leeds fans in Ireland as well, so that actually will be sort of something that actually captivates people. It's actually
come out of the woodwork, Dan.
It's one of my. I've not been to Leeds actually. I've not been to a game in Leeds, and I sort of want to tick off the list, because they've sort of been in the doldrums for a period of time, and you just feel that if they do get back, it's still not quite when they do get back. If they do, you'd imagine there'd be a sort of great buzz around it when you have one of these sort of old towns that needs football. Like its football club can sort of shape the mood of the area. For them to get back into the Premier League will be something else.
It's grim what you're saying, Dan. It's grim in Leeds.
No, I'm not saying it's grim. I haven't been there, so I can't actually comment on it. So you're just assuming that it is. But
I thought that's what you're saying.
No, but I started
post-industrial
reading a book today, like a football man. It's like a famous book from, I think it's a reprint from the 60s or 70s. I got it for Christmas, and it does it looks into the. No, it's not. It's actually fascinating. Okay. Brilliant. No, it's sort of considered to be one of the best football books ever written, and I've never actually read it.
What's it called?
A Football Man, written by Arthur. It's very well known. I should know his surname.
I'll Google it here. And like the first chapter is a brilliant profile of George Best, written at the time, written in 1968, I think. Arthur Hopcraft or something like that, Hopgrave. But the forward by Michael Parkinson. I only started it today. Started this morning. Hopcraft.
Yeah, and
Arthur Hopcraft, the football man.
It's meant to be fantastic, and I only started it today. But part of the first chapter just touches on a lot of these English towns and how football became embedded. This is written in the 60s. I think that particular piece was written in the 60s, and how just football is the electricity almost for some of these places, for some of these towns.
Can I give you a sense of it? This is in the Guardian, a review written back in 2006 by David Winner.
Yeah.
Not so long ago, this book about football in the 60s, it resurfaced. And he says, Arthur Hopcraft saw himself as a reporter trying to reach to the heart of what football is and examine the game through its players, managers, directors and fans. The book is a mixture of penetrating observation and encounters with those such as a young George Best, Stanley Matthews, Alf Ramsey, Duncan Edwards' father, Gladstone, that must be his father's name, I presume, and Derek Dooley, the brilliant Sheffield Wednesday centre-forward whose leg had to be amputated after a collision with a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
At that time, few intellectuals took football seriously. Hopcraft, journalist, novelist, screenwriter. He later became known for his TV adaptation of John le Carré's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Interesting, had a different view. Football, he wrote, has more significance in the national character than theatre has. Its sudden withdrawal from the people would bring deeper disconsolation than to deprive them of television. The way we play the game, organise it and reward it reflects the kind of community we are, said Hopcraft.
That's it. So, well, I don't know. Maybe it's very highbrow stuff, and I'm sure it was considered such at the time, with the tone of it there. But
revolutionary.
It starts off you're sort of captivated by the stories of a young Best. But it does just remind you how some of these, as I said, the English towns, football is the heartbeat of it.
But when you mentioned
it's not a hobby. It is the town.
No, yeah. When you mentioned Leeds there,
what's the Sunderland program?
I was just going to say, when you mentioned Leeds there, I thought of the Sunderland documentary, where it frankly does seem a bit grim. I don't know, is Leeds in the same boat?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, as I said, it's just one of these places, just an aberration. I've just never been there just because they've been out of it for a while, and even didn't have Irish. I generally would end up going to where a lot of the Irish players would be, and even over the last period of time, there hasn't been a huge amount of. Although of course we've got Patrick Bamford.
Yeah, we got to move on here. So I tell you what, we have Adam Pope on later on. I'll ask him about Leeds and how football fits into the city and economically where is Leeds, because I've no idea actually.
Yeah, go for it.
We don't talk about it that often. So to sum up the Pat and Evan conversation I had earlier on, podcast listeners will have just heard it. Dan, Spurs 0, Manchester United 1. It was generally me saying things like, God, he's amazing, and Pat and Evan saying things like, calm down, I'm reserving judgment just yet. It looks very positive and everything, but just calm down.
As I said, Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League. A lot can happen in a short period of time.
That was different, though, wasn't it?
It was different.
That was a self-running Chelsea dressing room. They did that with every manager that came along around then.
No, that's true. But
Avram Grant standing 10 feet away from John Terry giving the team talk.
But as we said earlier, like, you know, is this the genius of Solskjaer coming in, or is the genius or is it just simple that he's letting the players breathe a small bit, and that they've come out of this like oppressive regime, you know, where people weren't happy and inhibited and constantly, you know, everyone seemed to be engaged in a sort of permanent sense of conflict.
Yeah.
And it's just liberating to come out of that. And what we're seeing now is that liberation. I know there was, you know, sophistication to what they did in terms of unpicking, you know, sort of picking the lock of Spurs and getting the goal that they did.
He caught him out, said Gary Neville.
Yeah, caught him out. But at the same time, you know, they also... their goalkeeper was also exceptional. So I just don't think... I know, like, the whole argument is, well, you know, people said the first 4 or 5 games were easy, and now they win a match of substance, and now you're picking faults for it again. But, I mean, you know, they also beat Juventus this year, you know, away.
That was different, though.
I know...
Nature of that performance, there was no plan in that performance. That was just a random occurrence of events for 90 minutes.
It happens, but...
This was totally different.
Are we having this chat if Spurs take some of their chances?
What chat are we having?
The chat where I think there's an underlying theme here where you're like, go on. Give him the gig. You're getting caught up in the moment. You're definitely... If you're sitting in that boardroom now, you're sort of one of those people that's saying...
One of those people.
No, I assume that these people do exist now in corridors of power that are thinking, but why not? Like, I mean, I think it's a very natural feeling to think it, because when you have something that's working, as we mentioned earlier, someone that knows the club, it is tempting. Like, he's a couple more wins like this away, probably from maybe getting it.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't think this one is enough. Like, I don't think this one is enough.
I'm not saying that either.
No.
If I'm one of those people in the boardroom, I'm not saying that we should give him a contract tomorrow.
How soon would you?
Well,
do you wait till the end of the season anyway?
Well, I certainly think the PSG game that's a huge tie.
It's the mood music there, yeah.
You know, depending on how that goes. But there are real arguments in his favour. So, look, the initial good vibes he brought to the club, that was really important, and he's such a likeable character, and he's warm, and, you know, it was obviously going to be... There was going to be a bounce, invariably. But... Like and there's the tactical sophistication. The first sign of some tactical sophistication against a really good manager yesterday as well, which was important. But in between all that, he has reinstated the values of the club, which is different to just making everybody feel good about themselves again. And I said it to you in the news round. It's not just that he's found a way to win, it's the way he has found to win. It is that the Matas of the world, the Fellaini's of the world, and to a lesser extent the Lukaku's of the world have been sidelined, because there is now an adherence to fast attacking
energy,
players.
Having a go and so on.
Yeah, and that is the Manchester United of the 90s, the Manchester United a lot of fans in my age would have grown up on, and that's part of a broader tradition which goes back to Busby. Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho, I thought almost, I'd resigned myself to the fact that actually that Manchester United passed with Ferguson. And Manchester United would therefore be at the whim of whatever manager happened to be in place. Whereas actually Solskjaer has almost reinstated the broader traditions of the club and done it really quickly. Like it now almost seems Manchester United cannot go back to a manager who does not play that fast attacking football when they're the richest club in the world and they can bring in these fast players and have these great players. So that in some ways, if I was at the board, I would be saying, regardless of the results, and maybe Spurs beat them 2-1, the point is, Spurs beat them 2-1, but they had a threat. Man United had a threat, and it was a proper game, and they went about it the right way, and therefore we could be onto something here.
So if you're one of those people, if you're in that room, and this is a very massive...
Can I sit next to Alex Ferguson?
Yeah, you'll be close. Well, if you're next to Ferguson, you're agreeing with Alex Ferguson. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Most people would be. If you're given the choice of Solskjaer or Pochettino tomorrow, what would you take?
Pochettino.
Yeah. You still would, wouldn't you?
Of course.
You haven't like completely got caught up.
However,
because he ticks so many of the boxes in terms of supporting younger players.
However,
if
I could just interrupt you, Sir Alex.
Oh.
Can I propose, given everything Solskjaer has said about the nature of the club, given his understanding of football, can I propose that the vision of the club, Ferguson's favourite son, it turns out, and our new director of football, everybody, should be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Yeah,
it's a perfect position.
How do you feel about that? If you're the new manager, but if he goes on an amazing run, see, what part does it become a motive here? Because there's stuff coming out. I mean, by not giving him the job.
Well, if Solskjaer goes on an amazing run, then he does get the job over Pochettino.
You think?
Well, I just think. I mean, as I sit around the board, are we going to pay the 40 million it's going to take?
See, the longer it goes
extract
on, the more
Pochettino?
awkward it becomes to not give him the job.
If the results continue. But I mean, if he bombs out against PSG and the nice guy act is suddenly, looks a little bit paper thin.
Because like, if you're running the club, do you want this to keep... I mean, obviously you want it to keep going.
Yes, you do.
But is there a point where it goes so far and goes so well that all of a sudden it just becomes a real conundrum?
No, if he continues this until the end of the season, then it's not a conundrum.
But deep down, you just think this could just be one of these things,
What is one of these things? I mean, a manager only lasts 1 or 2 or 3 years anyway.
But that shouldn't be. That's not the Manchester United way, though. You're talking about this Manchester United tradition. That's not the way.
But I do have to acknowledge there is a practical real world, and there is never going to be a 10-year manager again at Manchester United. It's very unlikely.
No, maybe not 10.
But if Solskjaer could come in and do something for 2, 3, 4 years, and then Pochettino becomes available or whatever. I don't see it as a conundrum then. Like, it's a conundrum if they have to go and get Pochettino.
Well, the lads sort of covering London don't seem so sure he's going to leave.
Yeah. There is this desperation across the media. I was looking today, reading various things. Everything Solskjaer does now, it's Ferguson-esque. Like, it's quite extraordinary. So they were talking. It was a really good piece. It was in the Telegraph because they'd spoken to people.
Oh, is this a James Zucker piece? Was
that? Yeah. Well, it's talking about the Reading game where at halftime Ferguson wasn't happy.
Oh, the hairdryer stuff. Yeah.
So any other manager, it would have been he just got really angry at them. Solskjaer, it has to be Ferguson-esque, so it's the hairdryer. And then someone who had not seen Solskjaer in at least 4 years at the club, they were touched in that Solskjaer remembered their children's names. That's the most Ferguson thing ever. Learned from Jock Stein. Remember everyone's names.
Remember people's names in the corridor every morning when you go past.
One coach at academy level said he had spoken more to Solskjaer in one morning than he did to Mourinho in 18 months. One player, this is the Telegraph piece, was told he would not be playing because he had a crucial role to play in the game after that, and Solskjaer needed him completely fit and focused. A classic Ferguson tactic. I'm not finished yet.
Oh, there's more Ferguson tactics to come.
There are. In Dubai then, guess what they were doing? They were doing games between the youngsters and the older players, which again was a classic Ferguson thing. So everything he does now, it's of the Ferguson school, and that we're like the whole. There is such momentum behind this whole thing, and of course,
buying horses next.
Of course, three losses punctures the whole thing instantly, and it goes away.
But Ferguson also, would blank people on the corridor some days too.
If the younger players,
he'd know everyone's name, but sometimes he'd give them a bit of confusion for them as well.
Well, famously, there was a player who was walking by him and said, "Hi, Alex." But
yeah,
who? Mr. Ferguson's son.
How would the hi Ollie go?
I think they all say hi Gaffer.
Gaffer. It's the easier way to. I don't know.
But we were so sorry. Okay, look, I appreciate De Gea was ridiculous, but were you not impressed with the way Manchester United went about their business in the first half?
Well, in the first half, yeah, but I mean there was 2 halves in the game. Like they were picked apart a lot in the second half. But of course, it's a really encouraging story, but you just have to rein it in. But this is the nature of sports debate.
What do I need to rein in? What have I said?
You really want to give him the job deep down.
Oh, sorry.
You're getting there. You want this to
absolutely
happen now.
Really want to give him the job. However, I'm not even close to being on the point of saying here's your 3-year contract. But of course, everything about this is beautiful.
But you're sort of getting there, Joe. You really want to.
He doesn't have to do much more.
I don't think he needs to do much more. What's the next game? How far does he need to go?
Phenomenal what he's done so far. Okay, phenomenal is a strong word.
That's really strong. You're just a sucker for the romance.
Can I put it to you this way? He couldn't have done much more.
No, that's
grand.
I mean, statistically, a bang on point.
I know. I'm not talking statistically. Even if Spurs had scored 2 goals late on, you would have said there was a real sign there that Solskjaer has a sophistication and a tactical understanding that we hadn't seen because it wasn't required necessarily in the opening few games. And also, I even said to Brian Kerr and Nathan before the game yesterday, we had it live, I'd broken the habit of several years of being able to pretty much predict the Man United starting 11. Mourinho, we were sitting here saying 3 years in, what's his best team? He doesn't have a clue. They played against Spurs and Herrera was in a back 3 for United.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I have a pretty good idea of what the Man United team is going forward. He's found the best team very quickly, or something that you could argue is the best team. Mourinho never even flirted with that. That's impressive.
No, it is.
And he's got a lot on his plate, and he's plucked that one out.
No, it turned out to be a very good decision to go for him right now as an antidote to what was there before.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where you try to realise, is this just a reaction to what was there before, or part of something really that's going to work. I mean, sometimes people hit on stuff. Like it's
more
not,
than that.
Yeah, it's so, you know, sometimes just things and quirks happen, and all of a sudden, you know, like bring Mike Phelan back and people who are suited to the roles that they're in, the specific jobs that they have within the club. But there's just a wild guy. I know you're not saying it's done, but like
stop putting words in my mouth.
But he's going to get great press because, you know, he's got the important people on side. You know, a lot of the stuff about the United way and stuff that Gary Neville's hitting. So you talk about how influential the whole class of '92 sort of sphere of influence has been probably around recent managers, so they're on board with it. So you can easily see how the momentum just builds.
But to be fair, totally, he's got a great chance of getting it, but why wouldn't they be on board? You know, Gary Neville was even making the point, you know, just that podcast with Martin Tyler after some games, and, you know, he was saying, like, when they signed Mata, he's like, yeah, Mata's a great player, but it's actually a betrayal of the values and what they're supposed to be about, you know. So I think I'd be very close to saying he should get the job all right. But as you say, it could blow up horribly, and, you know, all the good press disappears very quickly. Here is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking after the game. What he learned, Dan. We know what we've learned from the Spurs game. I know what I've learned, certainly. Here's what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer learned.
Team spirit, that's the first. Second of all, we can defend. Jonah, Victor, fantastic with Luke and Ash next to them. We got the best goalkeeper in the world. I've said that many times. And we've got blistering pace up front. And then the goal was fantastic goal by Rash. It's a hard skill, you know, to score from that angle with the right foot, with that with the instep. I thought it was going to go near post, but it was a well-struck finish.
When you say he's the best goalkeeper in the world, I mean, today's performance, is that as good as anything that you've seen from David De Gea in his career? I mean, it's incredible.
Well, he had, was it one against Arsenal a couple of years ago, last year, but he should have held a few of them. But there's maybe one or two fantastic saves, and the rest of it was just about concentration and being in the right position. And we've had some great keepers at this club, and I think he's challenging both Edwin and Peter for the number one spot historically. This game was never about me or him, never. Yeah, you made it out to be. For us, it's 3 points, and we had to beat them today if we're going to have a chance to catch them. Of course, we were 10 points behind them, now we're 7. And 7 points, that's catchable. 13, impossible. 10, difficult. Now we've got a chance.
So that's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane, Dan.
Yeah, it seems... Martin O'Neill's definitely getting the Nottingham Forest job, and it does seem like Roy Keane's going to come with him. I'm fascinated to see how this one plays out. You know, I know we were chatting a bit off air, to sort of mixed views that sometimes, like, the Ireland manager moves on and it's like, well, there's an indifference to their next job. Even when Trapp was being linked with jobs, it was like, oh, that's interesting, but it's past tense now. We've got other stuff going on here. There's Declan Rice, there's all these things. But I just think the O'Neill Keane angle and how it all ended with them, and how we see the way in which it's been reported, I suppose, today, and the contrast between, like, the Irish perception of Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane's time in the job, and even, you know, sort of Irish pundits, and, you know, Keith Andrews spoke about earlier, I think, you know, to Jamie, and there's Keith Andrews stuff in our paper tomorrow and other places, and you know, over here there's a weariness about the O'Neill Keane thing, and yet you do see in Nottingham, like, some of the fans being sort of vox pop today, that they're almost thinking, not all, there's some Irish Forest fans not that sort of enthused by it all, but there is this sense of, oh yeah, they know the club legends, that they'll give us a lift here. And can it work? You know, can it really work? Because O'Neill has been sort of portrayed in the English media as someone who did all he could with a limited bunch of sort of average Irish players, and if you give him the resources that he needs, the tools to work with, he will deliver success like he's delivered all throughout his career. And he's going to a club with money who are going to support him, and you listen to people who follow the Championship closely, believe nearly they should be doing better than they are. And And how he
They're in
responds to that. They're
ninth.
ninth in the championship, 4 points off the places. They've been a mad club for the last, sort of decade.
11 managers since 2011.
Yeah, and various different owners as well. There's a Greek shipping magnate running the place at the moment. Keane and O'Neill separately were both linked with this job at various times. And there was even this feeling that they wouldn't go into the club because it was a bit of a basket case, or there was fears about it. But clearly O'Neill's desperate to go back in, and I think feels he has a point to prove. And he said that in a recent interview with a couple of English papers, which is the only interview he's really given since he's left the Ireland job. And so maybe is he prepared to work in a climate that maybe he mightn't have accepted 5-6 years ago?
He will have money now, though.
Money, and this is it, but potentially interfering, or owners who, like for example, Aitor Karanka, who was there previously, would be regarded as someone whose teams maybe aren't great to watch. Like he was under real pressure to make the team more attractive to watch, to make the style of play better, and that seemed to be something that was coming down from the top. Now we know, the perception of a Martin O'Neill side and how it can go, and if they're not getting, I just can't imagine Martin O'Neill taking too kindly to a knock on the door from someone saying, Martin, the team isn't great to watch,
Sex it up a bit,
Can you sex it up a bit? He's not going to like that. Now, maybe he's going to get assurances in these talks that actually just, give me the rest of the season and just leave me at it, and let me bring in the players that I want. But we're going to find out pretty quickly if that magic that sort of cropped up at times when he was here as Ireland manager. I mean, it's the whole legacy debate when he left. He still was responsible for some brilliant results.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple of years.
Daniel Taylor's a heavy hitter, obviously, in The Guardian. People read his stuff. He's
and he
really
knows
good.
Forest very well. He's a Forest man, effectively. So he would have written books and stuff.
He says
Forest.
the hierarchy at Forest, and I dare say that literally is basically a quote, as he's been speaking to them. The hierarchy at Forest have noted the way O'Neill won promotion at Leicester and transformed a second-tier side into one that secured 4 top 10 finishes in the Premier League and won silverware. And it is, on the back of your point, striking to see the difference in interpretation of O'Neill's standing in the game. O'Neill he lists through O'Neill's club achievements, which in fairness are excellent. Yeah. O'Neill subsequently, he says, took the Republic of Ireland job, led a willing but limited group of players to knockout stages of Euro 2016, where they were eliminated by France. He also took Ireland to the qualifying playoffs for the last World Cup at the expense of Wales, a side that reached Euro 2016 semi-finals. They lost to Denmark, and he left his position after an unsuccessful European Nations League. O'Neill has since faced heavy criticism from the Irish media about his style of play, whereas Forest have taken the alternative view that he inherited the least talented group of players the country has produced for many years, and in fact overachieved by taking them to a major tournament, beating Italy and Germany, the world champions, in the process. And on the style of play issue, Taylor writes, and this is an opinion that the Forest hierarchy hold as well, obviously. At Villa, for example, his team scored more times, 71 in the 07-08 season, than any other year since the title-winning Villa campaign back in 1980-81. So they have no fears about his ability to play good football.
But I guess it wasn't just style of play based. So what that really hasn't touched on is, say, the
lack of preparation,
the Matt Doherty criticisms and the prep, and that's more troubling in some ways than style of play stuff, and that's why I think O'Neill and Keane were particularly unhappy with Matt Doherty, because that's stuff that actually is really damning. Yeah, and that's something that I presume he will come out to address that as well. Now, it is natural. I mean, when Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane's first gig here was like a game against Latvia with 46,000 people there, and when O'Neill arrived, there was a tendency to look to the positives, not to think about his flat ending at Sunderland.
It's true of almost every new managerial appointment.
The Roy Keane thing, you would think, well, I mean, think of what he brought to that Sunderland group, maybe less so than his time at Ipswich.
Well, you've raised the person I'm almost more interested in. I was very, very, very curious over Roy Keane's next move, and I'm surprised he's going to sign up for another 2 to 3 to 4 years, which invariably, because of the nature of football, will end in a sacking as a number 2. Well, he obviously feels the rehabilitation, which was at its peak in 2016 of his managerial credentials, has now taken a bit of a nosedive. I thought he might think this is the age and the time to go out on his own. Is he signing up to be Martin O'Neill's number 2?
Well, I mean, I suppose 2, 3, 4 years could be optimistic given Forest's recent shelf life, but it probably will be the length of the contract. So, I mean, in an ideal world, that's what he's looking at. I mean, yeah, it's true. There seems to be a sort of a mixed view from sort of chatting to people involved in football that there would be a school of thought that Keane's stock has been really damaged by, like the Harry Arter thing, and that stuff. That almost brought up memories of some of the Ipswich stories towards the end. Some of the more contentious dressing room tales, which would make people worry about giving him a chance. And ironically, like Roy Keane was damaged goods when he came to Ireland, and then 6 months later was offered the Celtic job effectively. So that can change. And you keep wondering, is O'Neill ever going to keep the seat warm for Roy Keane somewhere? And is his best route of getting a good number one job, being a good number two at a club where someone is popular and taking over from them eventually? Is that a better bet? But I don't know what calibre of club job he was going to get, say, in the next year. And I think he possibly would be in danger of, all of a sudden, he's been out of work for 18 months again. And he's been a pundit for 18 months again.
Yeah.
And you're very much back to the start. But
look, it's going to be fascinating, there's no doubt. Can we get to the next story before we go over to Leeds? And that's Declan Rice's
birthday.
Declan Rice's day on the internet is the title of this next segment, Dan. So Declan Rice scored a really good goal against Arsenal.
His first goal, his first ever senior goal.
Was excellent throughout, was the general consensus.
As is now the norm.
As is now the norm, and it's his birthday today, he turns 20. So a few things happened which sparked intense fervour. Declan Rice liked an Instagram post which said, future Ireland captain. That was yesterday.
But as Nathan Murphy has since discovered, Declan Rice likes a lot of Instagram posts.
It turned out Declan Rice liking a post, he may not have given it huge thought. He may have, in fact, clicked like very, very quickly over lots of different posts.
Happened to us all.
But at Deckers10 liked JKK Kirwan's 11's comment, future Irish captain.
Big day for JKK Kirwan.
Yeah. And then the FAI weighed in today. I thought embarrassingly, but
time will tell.
I actually don't think time will tell.
It will.
I think either way it's...
You think it's embarrassing either way?
Yeah, I just don't. I think if he's about to declare for Ireland, then be a bit more professional about this and don't be half hinting at it.
About the engagement, Joe.
Well, that's my point.
Engagement.
They're more worried about likes and engagement than actually conducting themselves.
Maybe they wanted, as I said,
maybe
they wanted to smoke him out and get a like from him. Maybe they just don't know.
That's
they're hoping
no
maybe
way
they can get a like at him.
That's no way to conduct your business.
I don't think that was seriously their mindset on
Grand.
it.
Well, then what was the point of it?
What's the point of anything?
That's a silly question.
You know?
What's the point of anything?
Like, what's the
How am
point
I meant to answer that?
Like, what's the point of anything but like in this, you can send out something on social media, because I saw a couple of comments earlier where they got the response they wanted because people are talking about it. I mean, is that, the FAI said there's something recently about how they were top of the charts for social media in 2018 compared to others due to engagements and stuff like that. I mean, I know, it's rubbish, but we're analysing it here now, we're talking about it. It's a strategy. Do you think it was a strategic call or just
someone idiotic?
Someone exuberantly getting...
I think it was just
idiotic.
I think it was a ridiculous way to behave on behalf of the FAI in this very delicate situation.
No, it's probably not great. Robbie Brady then had to get a Facebook birthday greeting.
For people who haven't seen the post, maybe I'm overdoing the situation.
You're not happy here, Joe.
I just thought it was poor. You wouldn't get the FA doing that, put it that way. Happy birthday to Ireland International at Declan Rice. And they had a picture of Declan Rice in his Ireland jersey, the current Ireland jersey, one he had worn at a photo shoot back in May when he was still obviously playing with the team. And I've no problem, by the way, with them saying happy birthday Declan Rice. But it was the fact that they had happy birthday to Ireland International Declan Rice. I honestly was looking at this for about a good 2 minutes this morning, trying to work out, was this an announcement? As in, we've chosen his birthday just to add a bit of joy to the occasion to announce he is an Ireland international. And look, you made the point earlier on, technically he is an Ireland international.
Technically correct.
However, that Instagram post at a delicate time has just deliberately ignored the context and the reality of the situation. He's not an Ireland international. He's not actually sure who's going to play for, and this is just a bit silly.
I'd say he knows already who's going to play for, though. I'm not sure how delicate a time it is.
Your interpretation of this is he's going to play for Ireland and the FAI know it, is it not?
No,
that's what I get the impression you're saying to me.
No, that's the only way that you come out of it reasonably well. I'm not sure at this stage that anything can influence Declan Rice. Like, it seems like the decision is close. So I'm not sure if anything that happened on social media today is going to make him change his mind.
Gavin says it's like posting happy birthday on Facebook to your ex and including a picture of you both.
I'd say people probably, I mean, some people probably do that still.
It's even a bit worse than that, because at least you know that he or she is your ex at that stage. This is like someone has said to the other person, do you know what? I just think we need to take some time here. Okay, let's just cool off for a second and take some time. And on their birthday, a few weeks later, you put up a picture of the two of them, and it's like begging to be taken back.
The desperation.
There's a
pang of desperation.
There is a pang of desperation off this, and I'm thrilled that they got their engagement and their Instagram likes. But if I was,
but from all the friends, not from the one person they wanted it from.
If I was Declan Rice, I would look at that and say, "That's awkward. What do I do with that?"
I mean, I don't know. Maybe in weeks to come, like we will be looking back at that moment.
I want to clearly say to you, if he declares for Ireland, that does not vindicate this.
You think it's absolutely?
I think it's silly either way. Yeah.
Okay. I've got your angle on this clearly.
I think if the FA had done it, it would have been weird as well. Even if they had the good sense not even to wish him a happy birthday.
No, well they can't. They're not.
They're not involved. I mean, he's been hanging out with Gareth Southgate. He's been going to see St George's.
He's been there once, yeah, but they still have to write it off to FIFA to get permission to go out with him. Effectively.
Yeah. The best response of all was happy birthday Declan Rice and Robbie Brady from Jeff Hendrick, who noted that the FAI weren't so concerned about Robbie Brady's birthday. You were speaking on more definitive matters. Mick McCarthy was at the Soccer Writers dinner
on Friday night, yeah.
He was pretty open with you guys about Patrick Bamford and some others.
Yeah, like he spoke a bit about Declan Rice, obviously, as well. But then, yeah, just to fly through it, Patrick Bamford at Leeds seems very up for coming to play for Ireland. Nathan Redmond, Southampton, a bit more up in the air. Will Keane at Ipswich, who scored over the weekend. Michael Keane's twin brother, he is up for it too, it seems. And Darren Murphy coming back has not been ruled out of the equation, although Darren Murphy's life has got very weird now with Mick McCarthy being the manager now of Ireland and Martin O'Neill being the manager of Nottingham Forest. It's almost like a weird kind of deja vu thing. Like Darren Murphy went to Nottingham Forest to get some peace and quiet and see out the rest of his club career, and all of a sudden events are conspiring to put him in these really weird, strange situations.
There's another ex-girlfriend analogy.
Well, there's something like Mick McCarthy's like, I brought you over to England in the first place. You have to come back and do me a favour. And then O'Neill's like, well, I played you all the time for Ireland, unlike Trapp, and now you're going to go. You retired under me, and now you're going to go back and play for that fella. You know. So, I mean, Darren Murphy can't really win in this situation here. There's a whole load of ex-girlfriend analogies you can draw.
And how highly do we rate Bamford? He was the player of the year a couple of years ago, 2014-15. He's had a bad run with injuries.
Yeah, he hasn't started a game for Leeds this year, but in his last appearance he scored. But, yeah, injury question marks, it has to be said.
Okay.
Great pedigree. Interesting fella. I think he's into, like, classical music, and he's sort of an all-round talented in life, not just in. He'd be a football man. He would feature a chapter on him, and Arthur Hopcroft's book would actually sit pretty well.
Quite interested in you maybe doing a book review of A Football Man when you've read it.
I want to get it. I'm going to like it.
Will you keep an eye on the best passages and come in and
read them?
Talk at length about them. I'm interested in this.
The George Best stuff actually is great, but I mean, this is a book that I assume certain amount of people would have read this a long time ago, but I only got it there over Christmas.
So. I'm under huge pressure looking at the clock to get to Leeds United. Is there anything else you have to mention about Mick McCarthy?
No, I think they're the key points.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, the desperate search for a striker is such that no stone will be left unturned, and it's ironic you juxtapose it against the whole Declan Rice international loyalty thing, and yet another degree, we'll do
whoever we can get. I saw you point out today in the Irish Independent that Shane Long scored obviously the weekend. That's 11 Premier League seasons he's scored in, which is puts
10,
him
I think, yeah.
right up there with what, Keane, the two Keanes?
Only 4 Ireland players have scored in 10 or more different Premier League seasons. So it's Roy Keane, Robbie Keane and Damien Duff. Now, there's longevity in that. He's been around for a long period of time. Unfortunately, the other stat is his last 4 goals for Southampton have come under 4 different managers. Okay. He's averaging 1 per manager's tenure at Southampton. So, but there is something to be said for surviving at the top for that long.
Absolutely.
But
there absolutely
he still needs to
do a bit
he
more.
Know himself.
Yeah,
he needs to do more.
Still only 31. It's been
32 this month, I think. Yeah, so he is creeping towards that veteran stage.
Yeah, that said though, it's been a serious enough loss of form for a guy who was scoring a bit more for a couple of seasons, to say the least. We'll take a short break. We're going over to Adam Pope to talk Bielsa and Leeds in just a moment.
I think it'd be straightforward, me. But I think it's there's more talk about it. I don't know why politicians don't do what the country wanted. If I'm honest, they had a referendum, and now we see different politicians and everybody else trying to put the foot in it with Theresa instead of getting behind her. Why did we have a referendum in the first bloody place? I can't wait to get out of them. If I'm honest, I think we'll be far better out of the bloody thing, mate, in every aspect. And to hell with the rest of the world, eh? Football-wise as well, yeah.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Boyle Sports. Now with same-day withdrawals to your Visa debit card.
Finding the right people for your business is one of the most important decisions you'll make. Whether it's a head of funds to drive your global business, treasury director to make the right calls, or a chief risk officer to protect it all, The Panel is the place to go to source executive talent for your senior management team. Our experienced recruiters have deep sectoral knowledge and are highly networked. Log on to thepanel.com for more information. The Panel. We know the people you want.
Shane Byrne here to tell you about the Rugby Legends match at the RDS on February 1st. Join me and an array of Lions, Grand Slam, World Cup winners as we raise funds for rugby-related charities, including My Name is Doddy Foundation, aiding research into motor neuron disease. It could be your last chance to see some rugby greats like Gordon Darcy, Mick Galway, Mike Tyndall, Josh Lucy battle it out on the field. Rugby Legends at the RDS, 7 p.m, February 1st. Tickets available on ticketmaster.ie, #Rugby Legends.
Every journey, everywhere in Ireland is always within reach. Behind the wheel of a 191 BMW. Because right now, every 191 BMW is available with new reduced prices across the range. From exploring all possibilities in the newly arrived X5 to the brand new 3 Series, available to order now. Your new BMW is always within reach. Find out about reduced prices at discoverbmw.ie.
Stay with me, my love. I hope you'll always be right here by my side if ever I need you. Oh, my love, I will follow you. Will you follow me all the
Wherever you go. Bank of Ireland. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Aer Lingus January sale ends Tuesday. It's time to bring on the sun, bring on the sea and sand, bring on sandcastles, buckets, spades and beach balls, bring on the days by the pool and summer nights in the city, bring on 4-star service and convenient central airports. Bring on the sun in the Aer Lingus January sale with 3 million seats on offer. Up to 50% off flights to Europe and flights to North America from €189 each way as part of a return trip. Hurry, sale ends Tuesday. Smart books now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. So delighted to say we're joined by Adam Pope of BBC Leeds. Hello, Adam.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, a strange point to kick this off on. We were just chatting here. Here's the kind of short version, the Spark Notes version. And we were saying if Leeds get back in the Premier League, it could invigorate the whole area, the whole town. I presume will get very excited. And I was wondering if that's because maybe it's akin to Sunderland in the, I'm sure you've seen the Netflix documentary or seen bits of it.
Yeah.
Wondering was there, economically was Leeds not in great shape? And I just did a quick look in Wikipedia here. It seems Leeds very impressive economically. I hadn't quite realised. The largest financial centres in Britain outside of the capital. It was the first city across the UK to have broadband coverage right across the city. Seems like its financial insurances services are worth 2.1 billion. So Leeds actually moved with the times as a city.
Oh, I've been over in Yorkshire for, 3 decades now? Having left the Northwest originally, and this place has grown enormously. I mean, as you say, it's been a hub. Financially, it's been a hub for quite some time now, and I think it'll just be missing a Premier League team in it. And, the city's ready for it, the fans are ready for it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a buzzing place, it is. And obviously, we've got a taste of it already this season. And this time it seems to be. It could be for real. So, things are ready here to have a Premier League football team. So.
There was something incredibly disarming about Marcelo Bielsa's straightforward honesty and acknowledgement that he had upset Frank Lampard in his Sky Sports interview. I mean, if your pitchforks were at the ready, there was almost a point where you said, oh, okay, he's basically said everything he could possibly say.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's done nothing wrong, because I think some of the outcry against him is because of where he's come from, which is, to be quite honest, is bordering on almost racist, some of the stuff that's been said about him. That sort of thing should be left in Argentina. Well, I'm not being funny, but what he's done has been, for him, best practice across Europe, in Spain, Italy and France, not so long in Italy, of course, but also in South America and across South America. So in that sense, for me, how can we judge a man who has brought so much good with him and is a man of integrity, from what I can see, having met him or dealt with him for a long time now? How can we judge him by this so-called moral behaviour, this moral code that we have in England called fair play, when he hasn't been party to it for all of his life?
He did acknowledge, though, that Frank Lampard was clearly upset and Derby were clearly upset, and so he probably has crossed the line. I mean, he said as much himself. I'm not outraged, but I don't really think he can be in the habit of sending people to watch other teams train either.
I think you can put it down as sharp practice, but he literally has not broken any rules, from what I can see.
Yeah.
And we have looked, obviously. Look, it probably isn't that well accepted here, but you're telling me that hasn't gone on before, and I know there's been loads of examples cited over the internet in the last few days and so. So, look, he realises, and what he's annoyed about is the fact that, yeah, okay, he has upset Frank Lampard, but also he's more annoyed that, A, the person that did it didn't own up to being a employee of Leeds at first, and he said that was wrong. And also he said it overshadowed the whole game. He said it contaminated what was a brilliant game of football, and it became the story, and he didn't want that to happen. So as for actually apologising for doing it, I don't think he still doesn't feel he's done anything wrong, and actually said he would do it again, maybe, possibly in the future. I would advise him not to do that, because I think now we're at a situation where if people are so outraged, then the FA should then make a law to say this is against their rules.
I suspect they may, to be honest.
But who's making that judgment, though? That's what. Who's making that moral code that he's meant to have infringed?
Well, I think
that
they could
moves FA Cup games left, right, and centre, an FA that allows owners to come in who really could do a lot better. Or should know better than allowing some of the owners that have come into football.
No, that's true. I guess there's an element of whataboutery there. I mean, you can, you can sort that out, and also, I guarantee if every football club sat around the table and said, "Will we make a rule that you can't spy in each other's training?" I would be passed fairly close to unanimously.
I think you're right, and I think, look, by the standards of our game, then I can see why people are getting so upset. I just struggle to find that when there is no rule that says you can't do it, then, you can be morally outraged otherwise.
Yeah.
But if he's not done anything wrong, then how do you sanction someone for doing that? I just don't. I really don't get that. I really struggle with that. Fair play is such a subjective, measure, really, isn't it, to us all? While we allow diving still to continue and haranguing of referees to continue, something which he is totally against, by the way, then how do we sort of sanction somebody for doing what he did? I really don't know.
What about Leeds on the pitch is almost kind of the bigger issue, and the one I was more interested in. This hullabaloo will blow over one way or the other, and it'll all be fine. So they're 4 points clear at the top of the championship. Amazing stuff. I mean, you were very excited at the start of the season. I remember speaking to you, and the question was, would Leeds be able to maintain the high demands of a Bielsa approach?
Well, they have, and I did say at the beginning of the season, I thought, well, this could be spectacularly brilliant or spectacularly bad. It's turned out to be, the former, and they have managed to do it, and they've managed to do it with a squad that's been dwindled massively by injuries. I mean, at last count, I think it must be 20 injuries they've had. Okay, some of them have doubled up on some players. Now in the midst of a suspension for Calvin Phillips, who's been one of the players of the side so far. So in that sense, it's been phenomenal, and it's all down to good coaching. He's made the same bunch of players better than what they were last season, which has been incredible. So can they last the distance? Yes, they can. There's no sign of fatigue or burnout at this stage. Ask me again in another couple of months. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, this lot look like they could finish the job.
I think, Adam, people are struck, even with the admission, not to go back to the spygate incident, but he's obviously still operating through the translator, and that's a part of his sort of public persona. But, I mean, just around the sort of covering the Leeds beat, have you got more of a sense of the man and got to know him better in any way, or does he still keep his distance to some degree in terms of his public engagement?
Yeah, you don't get to speak to him other than in a press conference, and it's all done en masse. You don't get a one-to-one with him, so it's not like I've ever spoken to him on his own or in private or anything like that. So, but because he spends so long talking to you, particularly pre-match in terms of the press conferences, then you can ask him anything you like. So we've got a good idea of just how much of a servant to the game he is really, and how humble he is. And there are things that we found out that he probably would not want us to find out. How he sent the money back that he's been paid for his salary, if you like, which I believe is £7 million, back over to his homeland for the building of a hotel and facilities at Newell's Old Boys in Rosario, which is his hometown. So he's got for me, he's got some really, sort of venerable qualities as a human being, and that comes across when you speak to him. And he's really, really respectful of the whole of the country, of where he's living, and people's sensibilities, and that's why he understands why Frank Lampard is upset. Because I think he does have a deep respect for the traditions of the game, some of them of which he's learning now, as he's only been here a few months.
Yeah, Frank Lampard said he has Bielsa's book at home, and he was even more upset by the whole thing. I mean, we're dwelling on it a bit, and time is against us. It probably isn't ethical, I don't think, but, we'll all get over it and move on. Is the football as thrilling as it was at the start of the year?
At times, it's coming back to that. The other night against Derby, they were absolutely awesome. I mean, they were as good as they were down at away when they won 4-1. I mean, it was an absolute battering, to be fair.
Right.
And so the football is getting back to someone like, and it looks like they're getting a few players back quite soon as well, which would be important. Izzy Brown would be a big bonus for them. He's played for the 23s today, scored a couple of goals. So if he does come back like he did, say, for Huddersfield a few years ago when he got them promoted, or helped them get promoted, then he could be a real asset. At the minute the squad's like, they do need some of those players back like Bamford and co, but some of the football is just absolutely outstanding. And it was good to see them get back to the winning ways, having lost 3 on the bounce, including that cup game, just over the other side of Christmas.
So is Ellen Road getting full houses now under Bielsa?
Yeah, I mean, it's been regularly over 30,000. Nobody's quite sure exactly how much it holds, with corporates and all that. But there was 35,000 the other night, but it's getting 35, 36. I think you're probably going to see that pretty much all the way through to the end of the season now. So atmosphere, just unparalleled, Joe and Dan. It's just incredible. I mean, just as a spectacle, just watching the scarves being swung around people's heads and the way they ramp it up, you can see why everybody wants them back in the Premier League, even though they say they might not. They actually do, because it's a proper event. I never forget, Brian McDermott used to say when he was a manager here, he said, it's an event. Every time Leeds play, it's an event. And it's been like that. And it's been sensational. Not just under Bielsa. It was coming back under Gary Monk, to be fair. Tommy Christensen had been going at the beginning of the season. But right now, this is something different. It's gone up a notch. And it's because Bielsa's raised the bar.
Okay. Listen, super stuff, Adam. Thanks a million.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Adam Pope there from BBC Leeds. Man City have won 3-0 against Wolves.
Off the ball on News Talk.
We're recording this ad was
Thanks to saving over €340 on my health insurance.
I'm saving over €340 on mine. With Flex 125 Explorer from Leia Healthcare. Because when you pay for one of your kids' or teens' health insurance, the rest goes free! Oh, it's good to live. Leia Healthcare. Looking after you always.
Insurance provided by Ellipse Insurance Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare. Leia Healthcare Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare and Leia Life, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. A kid or teen is defined as a dependent aged under 18. Savings based on one free kid or teen.
January. It may feel dull and dreary. It may feel like ages till payday. But at least the January sale is on at appliancesdelivered.ie. And if it's bargains you're after, it's bargains you'll get. With up to 15% off TVs, 25% off washing machines, 25% off refrigeration, and up to 30% off dishwashers. Make January great again, at least for a few hours. And check out our health and wellness range. The January sale, now on at appliancesdelivered.ie.
The National Manufacturing and Supply Chain Exhibition 2019 at the City West Hotel on January 17th, with 450 exhibitors, 200 speakers and 4,000 delegates. Hear from an impressive lineup of manufacturing leaders, including experts on Brexit, smart manufacturing, IoT, procurement, sustainability, 3D printing, robotics and much more. Register for free at manufacturingevent.com.
With Virgin Media, you can build up the entertainment and tear down the price. First up, movies. Sport. Gaming. You win. And to top it off, switch today and get superfast broadband and TV for just €49 a month for an awesome 12 months. The sale that stacks up. Now on. See virginmedia.ie.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. 12-month contract. Offer ends 27th of February 2019.
What is your dream holiday? A hike in Peru or a dip in Dubai? How about pancakes in the States or karaoke in Tokyo? Whatever your choice, KLM gets you there. So what are you waiting for? KLM's Dream Deals end on Tuesday the 22nd of January. Check out klm.com and take off from Dublin Airport.
Nissan's latest innovation is the van that never gets old. Buy any 191 Nissan van and replace it with a new van every 3 years from just €49 per week ex-VAT. Plus, get 3 years free motor tax and 3 free services. Visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Innovation that excites. Finance offers for business users only. Finance is provided by AIB Leasing Limited by way of a leasing agreement. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Leasing Limited, trading as AIB Finance and Leasing, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Eligibility, lending criteria, terms and conditions apply.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Sorry, now we've gone slightly over time, so there's not really much time to say much else, Dan, beyond reminding people that tomorrow night we're going to be live alongside some Kerry legends for the launch of the Little Ireland Comórtas Pell Paddy O'Shea tournament in association with EJ Menswear. So we're going to have Kieran Donaghy, Mícheál Murray-Hertig, Billy Keane, 9-time All-Ireland Kerry footballer Eileen Lawler. That's a lot of Kerry greatness right there.
A lot.
Yeah, Dermot Earley and Dublin's Lindsay Davey as well, all at the Ballsbridge Hotel, celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Comórtas Pell. That's on 15th to the 17th of February on the Dingle Peninsula. Tickets for tomorrow night's show are free. You can get them at offtheball.com/events. And for more detail on the Little Comórtas Pell Paddy O'Shea, go to paddyoshea.com. Dan, the Irish media says someone hoping Martin O'Neill fails at Forest. I don't think we do we?
Oh, no.
No. Thank you for popping in this evening.
Thank you.
We'll
Interesting
see you
story.
during the week. Yeah, absolutely. And Richie's on the way, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good luck.